Trading is often portrayed as a dream job, freedom, financial success, and excitement. But behind the screens, many traders struggle with burnout and isolation, and the pressure to keep up with unrealistic expectations can make it even harder. In today's episode, we are breaking down the hidden truths about trading, the mental toll it takes, the isolation many face, and how to build a sustainable, healthy approach to trading. If you are feeling overwhelmed or exhausted, this one is for you. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion, providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode 55, Trading Burnout. Nobody tells you the whole story. Hi, Greg. Welcome back. Great to have you here.
Oh, hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be back. One of my favorite times of the week is to be able to sit down and chat about topics that hopefully we'll be able to dispel some myths and provide some peace, calm, and clarity to some traders out there. So, hey, everybody.
That's awesome. And today we wanted to talk about something really very unique, I would say. We want to dive into this topic of burnout because as traders ourselves, we know just how easy it is to get caught up in the pressures of constant performance and expectations, whether it's from others or from ourselves, which can lead to burnout and isolation if we are not careful. I have been there myself, and I have seen many traders who are depleting their reserves. And not just money I'm talking about, but also emotional and physical capital every single day. And the thing is that when most traders start out, they don't really know the whole story. And not many people are talking about it. That's why I'm saying it's pretty unique. And even when they are told about the risks of burnout, they hear it, but don't truly listen until they are deep in it themselves. Everyone sort of likes to learn from their own mistakes, right? It's something a lot of us fall into as traders. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, it is wholeheartedly a darker side of the trading aspect and learning every single thing that you need to be able to become a professional and successful at this is a wonderful learning experience because you're trying to gain knowledge in that aspect. Unfortunately, the side that we're talking about today with the burnout and the isolation aspect of it, you don't ever truly get to experience that until you've really done it. And once you start to get to the side of being very educated in what you're doing and learning your technicals and figuring your support resistance areas and your own trading style, that learning environment is incredibly exciting and can be daunting and maybe fearful at times. But when you get finally into the stage of, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you start, and then you start to realize, holy cow, I've been doing this all day long. So, all right, markets opened up at 9:30. It's 3:00, and I have been staring at these charts and different models, and I've been referencing different things, and I haven't spoken to a single person all day long. You start to recognize, holy cow, this can get super lonely. And I experienced that wholeheartedly sitting when I first started trading in my office at my house back home. I didn't recognize it until months in that I didn't have any human interaction.
Yeah, and it is so logical because if you really think about it and look at social media, how trading life is being portrayed, it doesn't show you those sides where you are stuck, literally stuck behind a computer. And I'm saying stuck because most traders, especially at the beginning, they cannot get themselves away from it. So it becomes that feeling of I have to sit here until the market closes and try to make money. So it is not so much of a choice. I'm here because I want to trade, but it's like I need to make money. I need to see if there is an opportunity. And that is, I think, that image that we see in social media, luxurious vacations, big wins, everything so worry free, especially, right? That this perfect life. I think that this unrealistic expectations is what really gets into the contrast of the actual experience. And then people start thinking, what is wrong with me? This is not supposed to be this way, right?
Agreed wholeheartedly. Because when you start to take a look at what other people are presenting themselves as in the day in the life of a trader, that's not an actual representation of really what life looks like. It may be for some, and that's great if they choose to do that. But for most of us in the trading life, it is never lavish cars and lavish boats and vacations that are, incredibly expensive. It is a daily process of figuring out how you're going to trade in that day and what the markets are telling you, what the charts are telling you, where the movement is going, and how you decide to do that is isolating unless you finally get into the business and you really get help, like from Agnieszka. Once you be able to do that, you start to gain a sounding board for you to say, oh my God, I've been doing this for this. Here's where I think I'm failing here. Can you provide some help here? Even just that simple dialogue between a coach or even a support system just changes your whole feeling about when you sit down to trade, because it's no longer just you. Yes, it's your money and your decisions that weighs a lot on how you decide to trade. But the other side of that, as you have already mentioned, the emotional, you know, currency that you have to spend when you're doing it alone is so draining that you have to be able to figure out how to get out of that so that you don't burn yourself out.
It's really interesting that a lot of traders that come to me, and when I ask, why do you trade or why do you want to become a trader? Many people say, because I am so fed up with working with people. And I just cannot wait until I will be here just sitting on my own and just it's me and the computer. And that sounds so fantastic. And it's just so ironic that now we are talking that actually that very isolation becomes a problem.
It
And I
does.
don't think many people realize how important the social interaction is in their life and how daunting can that be when you don't have it. And
Mm-hmm.
it might be different when you are successful, when you are consistent in making money and you have it all figured out, because then you might trade a few hours a day and then you go and meet your friends. But even that, I will talk about it later. But if you have that, you can say, oh, you know what, I will have my social life outside of trading, right? But until you are there, having someone to talk to about what you are going through and share not just the challenges, but even bouncing off the ideas of, hey, this is my trading plan. What do you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is so largely underestimated, and the true help that is available there is mostly in form of trading rooms, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is a social thing,
Yeah.
you would think, but it's not, because you're sitting
Yeah.
there listening most of the times, right? And or you're sitting
Mm-hmm.
there and looking at other people making money while you might be losing. And it's just so then frustrating, because you're like, what is wrong with me? Why are all these people making money and I'm trying to mimic them? I don't even try to figure it out all myself and I'm losing. So there's a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
frustration, I think, and that pressure of constantly exposing yourself to the market and constantly watching those charts and being triggered. I think that's another thing that's really underestimated. Every time we sit in front of the computer, we are exposed
Mm-hmm.
to what I call them the G forces of the market. I kind of constantly have this idea of Blue Angels, the Navy Squadron, and the documentary on Netflix, when it was just so inspiring. And they are constantly exposed to G forces, and they are practicing their flight in visualizations, and they have to have a mental resilience and also physical ability to withstand the G forces. So there is a lot to it. So when I look at the market, it's like, man, we are exposing ourselves to G forces every single moment we're sitting in front of the computer, and we don't even realize it. And if you don't know how to handle those G forces, you're just gonna pass out and then play that unconscious program or subconscious program and basically fly unconscious. And at the end of the day, you're like, what the heck just happened? Why did I lose all that money? Who was pressing the button, right?
Yeah, who's flying this thing? Yeah, 100%. Which is a great analogy for it, because when you start to jump in the passenger seat of someone else's trading style or someone else's concepts on how to trade, you're just jumping in the plane with them and
hoping for the best.
You have no idea where you're going or how fast you're going or what the destination is or where you're going to land. You're just on along for the ride when you start to mimic what everyone else is doing, which is why we always hammer home the same point. You have to find your trading style. We can help you figure out what it means to trade and why you trade, and support and resistance areas. We can point out some key aspects, but you need to implement all of those things so that you can take the controls of the flight, because you ultimately are going to want to take as much risk or as little risk as you want. You can do Blue Angels, or you can jump on a Delta flight and you don't have to go as fast, but you can sit first class. This is very different aspects of judging how you want to take your risk.
Right. Speaking of Delta flights, that's just a little digression. When I went to the Atlanta Porsche experience, actually one of the drivers, the instructor drivers, was a Delta flight pilot. And, he flies the commercial airlines, right? Where he is very responsible for other people, etc. And he cannot really be very risky there.
Yeah.
But he puts his need for speed a few days a month where he is actually the instructor of racing the car, basically.
That's awesome.
And that's where he gets his adrenaline and all the risk and the excitement in. And I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, this is not different than trading, right? A lot of people trade for excitement. They think it's, oh my God, I'm putting a lot of money. And yes, there is definitely a kick to it. If you put 2 or 5 or 10 contracts at once and your resilience is not there yet, you will feel the rush. Now the question is, how well will you manage it so that you actually can make money, right? Because the setup might be great, the market might be even raging, but you might still lose money if you don't know how to deal with that type of risk and that type of pressure. So trading is definitely not something where you should be looking for excitement. And if you do, you are going to expose yourself to those emotional whipsaws that are going to play a role in eventually burning out, because how much of this emotional roller coaster can your body sustain? Long term, we're talking about, right?
Long term, because that's exactly how it goes. It's the whipsaws, exactly like you said. The ups and downs will force you to get burnout.
Yeah, and a lot of people who come to me, that's exactly what they are tired of. Most people who have been struggling for several years, they don't even come and say, yeah, I want to make a lot of profit. Yes, eventually that's their goal, but they're like, I just want to be consistent. They're tired of losing. They're tired of that emotional roller coaster. They're tired of getting back to square one every single time. And that is type of thing in trading that is very common to start with, but this is also what will get you into that phase of lack of energy, because there is no moment where you recharge. Because every time when you start making money, after a period of time, you cannot even get energy from it, because you are now afraid that you might lose it just like you did before.
Yes, very much so. And that is the whole point of having the social interaction between people that understand what you're doing and the social interaction between people that don't understand what you're doing. You can have a wonderful social life and you can separate yourself from trading. But the moment you go back into trading, most of your social life doesn't usually understand the markets. They don't understand how you're trading or why you're even doing it. Most
Right.
people will just say, "Oh my God, you do that? Can I just if I just give you $1,000, will you do it for me?" And I've had that question like kid countless times, and I always have to say no. But those people who just don't understand what you're doing, that's a different type of social connection. But when you can actually build the structure of talking about why you're trading, how you're doing it, how long you're doing it, why you're taking the positions, the burnout, the success, the failures, that's also a totally different type of social dynamic that truly builds you and lifts you up to become better at what you're doing. One, because you'll take responsibility because you have to say that stuff out loud. And if you don't say it out loud, you will balance any sort of opinion that you have inside your head and you'll figure out any which way to make that come true. But if you say that stuff out loud to the people that are in this environment, they will give you a balancing opinion to help you see what's fact and fiction. And that's such an empowering space to be in rather than coming from where I was, just sitting in my office all day long in my home, not talking to anybody, trading, and then being done, and everyone going, "Ah, are you going to go out tonight?" It's like a switch. I'd have to leave trading behind, not be able to talk about it, and then go out and talk about a different side of life. And that's great.
Well, everything in you is screaming about trading, right? And you want to get rid of that pressure and tell people whether it was a good day or bad day, and you can't.
You can't because they just don't understand it, which is huge.
How was that for you? Have you noticed at some point, like maybe some physical signs of burnout? Like, what was for you the kind of alarming point, whether you are at the point of getting burnout, like how people can notice it?
Yes. For me, one of the key components in recognizing that I was reaching a point of I knew I needed to shift and I needed to change um, was when my routine leading up to the morning and trading started to just change where my sleep pattern I wouldn't get up at the same time frame because I didn't want to stay in that routine anymore, and I wouldn't watch some of the indicators that I knew that I liked, and I would go back to like RSI and just volume, and then I wouldn't look at a Bollinger Band, and then I wouldn't look at moving averages or what it was. Any of my pre-market routines started to diminish, and once I
Mm.
fell off my routine, then I started to not fall in love as much every day with trading. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm changing my routines because I'm burnt out in doing what I'm doing alone. I need I need another support system or another sounding board or someone else in this with me just so that I can talk about it and offload some of this weight that I'm carrying of I think I'm doing it right. I think I'm doing it wrong. Should I use this? Should I use that? And the more that I started to recognize my burnout was coming was because my structure and my habits were changing drastically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I think that's the first indeed warning sign to when you start feeling like you're kind of slacking on something that you thought you really want to do,
Yeah.
right? It's a little bit like in a relationship when you stop putting the effort and kind of hope that things will just magically happen by itself.
Yep.
I like to compare it to watering a flower,
Yeah.
or watering a plant. It's like if you want it to be pretty and flourish and give you the beauty and the oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
you got to take care of it, right? You got to put some energy into it.
Because you'll never blame the environment. The flower's only going to grow in a place that it's capable of growing, and the environment will dictate whether it can or whether it can't.
Right. We can blame environment, but it's not going to help.
Yeah.
For me, the burnout started when I noticed really physical changes. My body is very direct and will always give me signs when I'm
Mm-hmm.
out of balance, when I start to, start doing something that is not good for it. So
Yeah.
yes, I finally got my very, very strong wake up call. But before I even got there, I was getting signs that I was kind of ignoring. So the
Hmm.
stress level was so big that the very first thing that I noticed, which sometimes I have to laugh about, when I started trading, even though on social media they were always showing like, oh, you can trade in your pajama and all that, I was like, nah, that's not good. I gotta feel like I'm here for serious
Hmm.
business. So I would always dress up and I would do my makeup and then I would put a lipstick on. And at some point I noticed that my journal was all red. And I couldn't figure out like how are those pages all red? And then what I realized was that when I was trading, I was constantly playing with my lips with my hand. And this whole red lipstick was all over my face and all over my hand. And then I was touching my journal, and that's what happened. And I'm like, oh my God, I must be really stressed if I do it because normally I have never been doing that. So this was like, hmm, why am I so stressed? And then
Hmm.
I noticed that every time when I would come to the desk, my heart rate was going up, my stomach would go completely crazy. I'm like, I did not even open my charts. What is happening? My body was
Yep.
feeling, okay, here we go again. Here we are into,
Yeah.
we are about to get again into this fantastic state
Hmm.
of anxiety. So my body was really started giving me signals, and I think that just watching for those signals is very valuable. I did not listen to them at first, but finally, I was stubborn enough. But finally, I had to. I had no choice. So if you guys are listening, and if you do experience any of the anxiety or stress effects on your body already, then know that it's probably time to step back, to take a break, to do something about it, and to make sure that you are releasing that stress. Fatigue is really where it starts when you start getting tired. And maybe that was, Greg, you were saying kind of tired to wake up. And so fatigue is the first sign. Then you have stress, and then you have anxiety. And before you know, you're depleted. And the thing with the burnout is it doesn't take a day to replenish because your energy levels that you are they are like layered. So the very first layer you take out with fatigue, the very first layer that you recoup and replenish every day. Then you have the second layer a little deeper. That's the stress, and you still can handle it. But the moment you go deeper, that's like the last layer, and you have to replenish it all three layers to get back to normal. So don't let it get that far, I would say.
Yeah, you can. And the earlier that you can recognize if it's one of our signs, great. If it's something that we've talked about, great. This could also be manifesting itself in some way, shape, or form in your life that is different than ours.
Right.
But just consistently being aware of how you're changing and the ups and downs of feeling that loneliness or isolation or burnout in this environment are hugely crucial for you to either change your habits or seek help in a way of social connection between people who do this type of thing so that we can have an understanding and an empathetic ear toward the pros and cons of what you're doing. And that just makes such a drastic shift in your own mentality and point of view when you can talk to people who are on the same level as you, and it truly will diminish. It won't take away completely ever because that's up to you, but it will diminish the ability for you to experience burnout for sure. I consistently use my mentor to do that. That's why I had my mentor all the time. I would bounce ideas off of him consistently, and then even through emails, I started to go, all right, I think we should meet in person. Like, can we start meeting, twice a week? And that was a face-to-face conversation, open dialogue, and that helps from a different social aspect than just communicating through email or text.
And was it more of a learning experience, or was it more of you just needed a sounding board?
Both for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, Both for sure, because my mentor had managed pension funds for years, so he's the level of stress that he was experiencing was obviously exponentially larger than anything I have experienced or
Mm-hmm.
anyone that I knew of was experiencing in the market. So being able to hear him talk about strategies of stress management and strategies of correctly position sizing and correctly being able to evaluate where you think the market is going to go and why, he would test me all the time and just say, okay, show me why you think it's going to hit that mark. And I would have to come up and say, okay, well, from the count that I had, I think a Fibonacci sequencing puts me at, a 6.18 retracement, I think gets me here. And he'd go, well, you still haven't shown me why you believe it to be there. You've shown me what you think. Show me why. And that would be those types of conversations of growing and learning for me to go, okay, yep. So even if I look at a 618 retracement, what's my reasoning to get to the 618 retracement? Is it because I had, an outside day and I know that, outside days are not great and those usually tail into, dips in the market? That can I find one of those? Can I find, a topping tail? Can I find, any sort of strategy that helped me say, this is why I think it's going to go there? But him challenging me to prove to him why I thought something was going to be true was vastly different than me sitting home in my own isolated burnout state of going, no, yeah, I think it's going to be a 50% retracement, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be.
Were you feeling any resistance before you actually found a mentor? Because you knew that he's going to question your ideas, right? And you will have to sometimes feel like, I don't actually have an answer. I have no idea. I think I just want it to go up. So that's why I think it's going to go up.
Absolutely. And which was great because I can tell you that I would get, when he would catch me in some of those experiences, and it was never a negative connotation. It was never, why are you doing this, or a demeaning nature, because it was him and I just talking. So it wasn't, anything of a vitriol nature at all. It was just a teaching mentor, sessions. And I
Right.
would feel that wave of heat that when you get caught in the, oh shit, I can't answer that. And when you feel that fear of, oh no, I see it now. Oh shoot. Okay. Yep. I see it. All right. I can fix that. I understand what you're saying, that I need to give you proof on why this is. This is not you proof. It's giving me proof of why I think it's going to be there. And that proof, when you're challenged by someone in the markets and understands it in a constructive way, is such a massive, massive shift to be able to help you find more confidence and less burnout with far more socialization.
Absolutely. Sometimes it could be even someone who has no idea about trading, because what it really is about you hearing yourself and actually hearing what you are saying and challenging your own opinions. And if there is someone else who might not know anything about trading and say, yeah, but why do you want to take this trade? Why do you think it's going to go up?
Yeah.
Or even teaching someone and trying to explain your thesis and why do you think that might be very helpful. The bottom line is you got to talk yourself through your thesis and identify whether you are just trying to convince yourself about your bias, or you are literally looking at different scenarios and thinking, if this happens, then what? And if that happens, what do I do then? So that you have different scenarios for any occasion, so to say, right?
Oh, very much so. And that's the huge benefit of having someone like you in people's corners, to be able to just have the ability for someone who knows what they're doing just to give you a gentle nudge in a different direction or provide something that makes you think differently. And
Yeah,
I highly recommend everybody find your own social structure inside trading world so that you don't experience what I experienced, and the burnout and the habit changing and the lack of sleep and the frustration. You may still have some of those, but you'll experience them with far more support than some people do out there.
I was lucky enough. I had my husband on my side. He was less lucky to have me on his side, because when I was having my tough time, he was my crying pillow every single day after the market close.
Yeah.
I would literally cry my eyes out from frustration, not understanding why things are not working, or otherwise why I cannot make things work.
There you
And
go.
that was so I was very lucky. But another thing, so he's not my trading buddy because we trade completely different. He's a swing trader, I'm a day trader, but he also looks just from a very different perspective. He has a very different risk tolerance than I do. Like
Yeah.
we are completely different species, I would say, like as traders. And a lot of times, I will long something that he's short in, or vice versa, which is very interesting. When we did look at our setups and talk about charts, it led to interesting discussions, right? Because it really makes you kind of question your thesis and think, okay, so is he just thinking that because he's looking at different time frames, or is this because I'm just trying to convince myself about something because I have this great entry and I'm thinking this is going to go to the moon, So
Oh, fascinating discussion. Oh, I would have loved to have been able to just sit back and just listen to that, because that's amazing.
I can tell you sometimes it was pretty, a lot of heat in
Sure,
those discussions
sure.
because at some point, of course, also ego hits. So we are not immune to that. But definitely there is a lot of value in having those discussions, because when you are working with probability, you got to realize that nobody knows.
Yeah.
So whatever you are thinking might happen, and what the other person is thinking might happen too. That's why those discussions and having maybe like a trading buddy who trades either the same strategy or the same instrument, that you can have those discussions, is very helpful. Not to tell you what to trade or whether you're right or wrong, but just to kind of be the sounding board for you to verify your own
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah. Very much so. It's which is why, man, I would have loved to sit and watch the whole strategy formulated between I'm pretty sure it's going up to I'm pretty sure it's going down, and just to see the dynamic between it would have been great.
Yeah. I can tell you that at some point, I stopped, like when I had my plan clarified for that particular day. From that moment on, I did not want to hear whatever he was doing. And we used to trade in the same room,
Fair.
okay? But I was like, do not tell me, because I know it's gonna shake me out of my trade. Especially that he, has been trading for a long time. When I met him, he was already trading. So I was always
Yeah.
thinking and seeing him as the authority, right? Especially at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Yeah.
like, if
Yeah.
he is short in something and I'm trying to long this thing, probably I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But this is what happens all the time with traders. They look at social media, at traders who have been trading for a long time.
Yep.
And if someone says, hey, I just long this ticker, they're like, oh, they're long, so it's probably good. Let me long that. They even haven't said when they longed it and what price, what's the plan. Just and I know I've been doing that myself years ago. So I know the dynamics, how that
Yeah.
authority thing works, Oh yeah, but if he bought it, it must be good.
Yeah. No, because I mean, you aren't even talking honestly sometimes the same language. Yes, it's English, but in trading, it's so vastly different. Even when people say, "Yeah, no, I'm long." Are you long a month? Like, if you're a day trader, a week is an eternity. If you're a swing trader, are you talking about 3 months? I mean, most swing traders, I mean, if you're going to get to 6 months, I mean, wow, are you a long-term trader? Are you an investor? Like, you can't even say one simple general statement of I'm long something or I'm short something, and then not provide any strategy of saying, here's the reasons, I'm going to be long on this. The way the 10-year is shaping up right now, I really believe that we're hitting, a bottom, and that's going to, work our structure up. And I believe that it's going to follow the 10-year up for the next, 2 to 3 years. And this is a different strategy of saying, oh no, I'm just long. What? How long? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then another thing is everyone is genius after the fact, and I love when people say, "You see,
Yeah. Oh
I
God. Yeah.
said that,
Oh
I
yeah.
called it," and I'm like, "Yeah, but okay, you had that right. Now you can say it, but it doesn't mean that your next call will be
No.
also good." But then people take that and say, "Yeah, he always calls it
Yeah.
good," right? There's just so many traps that people fall into while trying to find that safety, that security, that exclude the randomness of it, and really try to grab onto something that we're like, okay, if I do this, it's gonna finally work. It's finally gonna be easy.
Yes. And most of the time when I have experienced people who will always say, "See, I told you. See, I told you. I knew I was right, and you should have listened. I told you to go long on that, and that was the trade you should have taken because I told you it was right." I tend to shy away from those types of people because I gravitate more toward the people that say, "I took a trade and I think this is going up because of this, this, and this." Now, after the trade, they come back and go, "Okay, that trade didn't go well. And now that I can see where I made my mistakes, yep, no, I was wrong." And when you balance out, when you can find someone that says, "I don't know everything, I don't know the market's going to go one way or another. These are not, definitive aspects. I trade with the best probability for the way that I see it. And if I make mistakes, I'm going to show you that I made mistakes and then I'm going to try to correct those mistakes. And when I'm right, I'm going to show you why I was right and I'm going to try to continue to build off of that." When you can find someone who's more realistic and balanced in their, "Yeah, I was right. And yeah, I was wrong." Those are the types of people that you should really gravitate toward because they'll give you a much more balanced idea and concept of what trading is because you will be right and you will 100% be wrong.
Right. And that's okay. And it's not even being wrong. This is just the nature of the beast. This
It
is the
is.
probability thing. And this is also the reason why there is so many different um, services in the
Yep.
market that provides you with all kinds of reports, all kinds of watch lists and expectations and probabilities, and like so many different people are trying to sort of tell you where the market might be going. And it is not the fact, because if it was a fact, there would be probably just one company providing you a report of the fact, and
Yep.
there would be no room for people for different interpretations and telling you we are better because we know it better, right? Because we have better expectations and we have had it right 5 times and the other ones only 4 times. If it would be a fact, if it would be something it's going to happen, everybody would just print the same thing and there would be no money to be made.
Yeah. Why go different places? There's nowhere, you're not going to go anywhere different. You're just going to go, okay. And you'd all become, just like bot trading. You just do the same exact thing. And we all know that's not true.
Right. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is that your theory, if you do your due diligence, if you analyze the charts, whatever thesis you are making, they are not worse than anyone else's. And yes, there are analysts, they have more information to their disposal. There's for sure a lot of value in that. I'm not saying do not read those, but just have that understanding that this is not the future, that this is going to happen or that this is for sure going to work. You got to always have to have that thought in your mind that it might not work, whether you made the thesis or someone else did. None of respect. How relaxing. Yes. It's because it is less stressful because you don't have to get it right because there is no right.
I know. I was just going to say, once you can get to the wrap your arms around that concept that none of it is fact, you, I promise you, you will experience less burnout. That's for sure. It's their conceptual realization of what they think might happen. That's no different than your own conceptual realization of what you think might happen. And neither one of them are rooted in fact because truly nobody has any idea. So, I mean, there's rare instances you could, have insider trading where someone knows, some piece of information that, an IPO is going to go bankrupt. You don't have any idea. Those are obviously outliers in in the world that we live in. But for the most part, most of what we do is not based in true fact.
Right. And the only reason why we are trying to convince ourselves that, like, I knew it's going to break out. I knew this is going to happen. I knew it's going to reach my target. Well, if you knew that, why did you get out earlier? Right.
Yeah.
If you knew that it's going to happen, you wouldn't be so stressed out. So,
Mm-hmm.
that even that language that many traders are using to, you have to realize that you are doing that to get to that confidence level that you
Yeah.
feel you are missing because you don't know what's going to happen, and that discomfort is just a normal part of trading day. It's like you just never know. I also never know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. We never know what is going to happen next, right?
You have absolutely no idea. And if you knew it was going to happen, then there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't take every single dollar you own and put it on all of it.
Right.
But you don't do that because in the back of your mind, you go, well, maybe it's not definitely going to happen,
Right.
which completely is contradictory to your after the thought of a winning trade. I knew it. You didn't know it. None of us knew it. You just, structured to the best probability.
Those mechanics I always find so fascinating. How we know how to switch from one to another thing just to still feel like we were right.
Mm-hmm. To prove your own self-worth.
Right.
And when the trading has nothing to do, I'm very clear on this point. Trading has nothing to do with your self-worth or your own self-confidence. Do not ever tie any of those to any part of trading. They are never going to be built. They're never going to build you up to be something that, you're going to be phenomenal at it. You're going to be terrible at it. It doesn't make a difference. Those aspects are not going to build your confidence. Your confidence is going to be built in your process, how you decide to learn, how you decide to structure your trading strategy, your risk analysis, and your chart reading. That's where you can find your confidence. The results of pro or con, right or wrong, don't do not determine your self-worth or your confidence.
And that's a really great point that you bring up here, because that has a lot to do with that isolation. Because the
Mm-hmm.
moment that you are isolated, it's only you. And when the trading is not giving you the reasons to be proud of yourself, and you have no one around you to tell you, hey, you
Yeah.
did a really good job, that confidence level is diminishing. So
Yeah.
if you are looking for that confidence in trading, this isolation, the trading itself is going to diminish it even more. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another reason why you need to look for support from mentor, trading buddy, or
Yeah.
community. Wherever you find it, it's important for your overall well-being and your confidence level, your self-worth.
Yeah.
Another thing that
Yeah. So true.
I wanted to talk about is that I think is relevant here is talking. Another thing that I think is really relevant to the burnout is the obsession with hustling. And
Yeah.
this is also a little bit of a culture, right? You have to
Oh
like
yeah.
hustle. And that if you bring that to trading, it can really be damaging because people just keep sitting in front of their computers. Like there is
Mm-hmm.
this beautiful image of a trader with a laptop in a hangmat and with a
Oh
cocktail.
yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
reality is the trader behind 15 screens in a dark room and trying
Yeah.
to figure this out.
Yep.
Very different lifestyle, right?
Very different and very different projections of what you should and shouldn't be doing. Because so much of what we experience in this world is your hustle and you have to keep going and keep pushing. And no matter what, well, that to a certain extent can serve you, where it can push you forward. That's great. And that type of hustle where you want to be successful at something, that's good for you. That pushes you forward. But when the hustle gets detrimental is when you don't know when enough is enough. When you don't have a limit in your mind of what you want to accomplish in trading, then your hustle never ends, which leads you to burnout, which leads you to isolation, which leads you to depression, which leads you to stress, which leads you to fear. All of
Right.
those aspects because you're addicted to the hustle part and you don't have clear set boundaries and goals of what you're even hustling for. And that's when it
Right.
becomes so exhausting to most people that they don't have the ability to step back and go, oh, okay, so I would like to set a goal for the day of X amount. I'd like to take, in the beginning, I'd like to take 4 trades today. And then the more you get seasoned, you can say, okay, I'd like to take 10 trades today, 15 trades today. And that's my hustle to make sure that I'm putting myself in the best 15 that I can get it. Not just,
Right.
I need to hustle. I need to take, oh my God, that's a brand new IPO. I should take a look at that. Meanwhile, you're suffering because your other 3 or 4 positions you haven't paid attention to because you haven't learned enough, and your hustle is actually crushing your progress.
Yeah. And a lot of times that has to do with not having boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have boundaries and you don't know when to say stop to others, you
Mm-hmm.
won't also say stop to yourself. And market is that other that you have to definitely say stop to, because the market really never sleeps, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
always go and check the news. There
Always.
is always some geopolitical events. There's always some kind of
Yep.
report or a tweet. There is
Yep.
always something happening. And if you are crypto trader, that's 24/7. Soon, the market, the regular market is also going to be 24/7. So, what are you going to do then? Are you going to be
Mm-hmm.
trading all the time just because the market is open? How about the rest of your life? And if
Like
you don't have those boundaries and
yeah.
you don't work on creating those boundaries for yourself, there is definitely a burnout in your pocket. I can assure you, because not many
Mm-hmm.
people can stand that long term. Maybe for
Mm-hmm.
a few months if you're lucky, but
Yeah,
not a long term.
you cannot. And beautifully said that you have to be able to figure out how to do that. And if that means you get help on how to set boundaries, because those are very difficult for some people to understand and realize on who they are and how they choose to operate on a daily basis outside of trading.
Right.
If you cave to other people's opinions and you say yes to everything and you stand for nothing, those aspects will bleed into your trading. And helping set those boundaries personally will help be able to set professional boundaries when you're in trading, so that you know when to step away and when to double down.
Right. And, it's not for nothing that we have the saying that silence is gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that also has to do with your boundaries. A lot of times we feel like we have to respond to everything, and it ends up to
Agreed.
be being reactive. Someone says something and you immediately have the response. The market
Mm-hmm.
moves, you immediately want to react to it. And if you can create that little pause between the action and your reaction, then you
Mm-hmm.
have a chance to have a response that is actually coming out of the inner need that you have of what is that comes from the place of where you can define what is your relation to what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to respond to it instead of just, action reaction? And
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot to do with boundaries. How do you define how far you want the market to come to you? How close are you getting? How
Mm-hmm.
close are you gonna let it come? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like with other people, right? Everyone has its personal space, and say
Yeah.
you come to a certain moment, and then I feel you're close enough, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same with the market. What do you allow the market to do to you?
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm sort of objectifying the market and say like it's a person, but in a way it is. If you don't give it clear boundaries, it will take everything you have. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be the one that says, okay, I've got some profit for today. If I take another trade, this is how much I am willing to give back, and not come back
Mm-hmm.
later. It's like, oh, I lost everything. No, you didn't lose everything. You gave
Yeah.
it away.
Mm-hmm.
You gave it
Yeah.
back.
You did, because you never, the only time that I struggled with this in the very beginning, and I laugh about it when other people say this to me, that, oh my God, you were up 500 and now you lost it all. I love being able to say it was never mine in the first place because I never stopped trading. The moment that you stop trading and you shut your account down for the day, that's when you can say, I have made a profit.
Right.
That's the
Right.
only time you can ever say. Because if you keep trading and you're up 1,000, you're up 2,000, 10,000, and you decide to keep trading, you didn't lose any of that. It was never yours in the first place. Yes, it
Right.
was technically in the account that you're trading in, but you never stopped putting risk on the table. So until you take that risk off the table and stop your trading for the day, you have not recognized any gains.
That is such a good point that you bring up, because you know that sometimes that goes like, I know for me, it used to be a reason for me to explain it to myself that if I took a loss the next day, that it was okay, because I was like, oh well, yesterday I had a good day, and I
Mm-hmm.
would compensate my day loss with the day before win, which was completely ridiculous, right? Because the moment that you take that profit on the day, that's when you stop, and this is your profit, this is your day, and then the next day
Yes,
is a complete clean slate. You start over.
completely different. Completely different.
Yeah,
Has nothing to do with anything of the day before. When you decide to stop your trading, that's the only moment that you get to sit down and go, I made money today. You can't do that throughout your process of trading all day long because none of it's yours. You're continue to putting in risk. You're continue to be, evaluating different positions. You haven't gained anything yet. You may be up $10,000 in the first 10 minutes. And if you are, it's not yours. I promise you.
you know what's really funny is that it's such a contradiction, because when we make money, a lot of times we would say, oh, that's mine, right? Even before you stop trading, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
made profit, I'm up for the day. But if you are in a loser and you have a loss that you haven't realized, you do not claim that. You say, oh, it's not a loss because I haven't realized. So inconsequential, completely different rule, like the exact opposite. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you claim the profit, then you should also claim the unrealized loss, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
is loss on your account. So you should say, well, that's what I lost.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have made a profit and it's realized profit and still trading, it's not the balance on your account, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how we know
Yeah.
how to twist things just so that they work out exactly in how we want to see them, so that we don't feel bad about ourselves, right? And we end up feeling bad anyway.
I was just going to say, and then we end up at the end of the day feeling bad about it. And that is exactly one of the leading cases of figuring out how to get burnout. If you want to have a whole lot of burnout really quick and you want to act like a rocket and absolutely shoot up and then go, oh, I am all out of fuel, you'll come crashing down. And those are part of the ways of doing it.
Right, right. So let's talk about a few practical tips on how to prevent the burnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Creating a healthy trader's routine is one, I think, of the biggest factor where that helps you avoid burnout, and
Mm-hmm.
also making sure that you have those moments of recharging, as you said. So
Mm-hmm.
taking breaks, setting clear boundaries. At what time do you trade? At what time do you stop? Even because you don't have to stop with a certain target. Like I have to make $200. What if you make 180 and then there is no setup anymore? What are you gonna trade for the $20, losing the 180?
Yeah.
So you can literally tell yourself, these are the times I'm trading, and then I'm taking a break, and then I might go back and look what the market is doing if you have a
Mm-hmm.
plan on it for it. Because a lot of times you go back and then you lose what you made in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you make it back, and it's
Yep.
okay
You
if you're
do.
not over trading.
Yeah. Oh, very much. I did that many times. I've ridden that bus. It's bumpy.
Right. Right. Do you have any other tips on how you could create what you could do to prevent the burnout that you could recommend?
Yes, I wholeheartedly believe that one of the largest steps forward in me being able to become better at what I do in trading was creating distance. And that distance for me was when I started to go into a spiral and experience burnout and was, experiencing a lot of losing trades. I truly set up a way for me to say, I'm trading on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the next week, I would switch and I would not trade Monday. I would not trade Wednesday, and I would not trade Friday. I would trade Tuesday, Thursday, because that way it gave me space from the market to allow me to process what I had done or hadn't done. And then it decreased my burnout rate and then increased my focus to get back into a better routine. So for me, truly switching up helped me create a better strategy and distance from it, because it would be trading of 2 days on and then trading of 3 days on. And that's just a strategy that I used to help me create space so that I didn't burn myself out.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And sometimes I recommend to traders, look at your stats. If you don't track your stats yet, start tracking your stats. There's a lot of online journals that you can use, even free ones, because those stats can tell you what actually are the best days for you to trade. Because for some people, it could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And for some people, by Wednesday, they are, in the mid of the week, especially if they have a full-time job, and they might be actually so exhausted, or on Fridays that they're like, I'm done for this week. And my performance, like, I can see that over the last 3 months, I've been losing every Friday. I'm like, so what are you doing there? Right?
Yeah, because your mind isn't in it. Your mind is off going, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to head out and grab, there's a game on tonight. I'm going to go grab some pizza and wings and watch it with a couple buddies. Like, that stuff starts to creep in on, a lot of your trading methodology, because you have a life outside of trading, and a healthy life outside of trading is extremely important.
Right.
So,
or it could be also that you haven't made money the whole week and you're trying to push on Friday to make up for the whole week, right? So, but if you are looking at your, the numbers and what is your performance, that will help you identify that. By the way, guys, if you want some supportive tool to create your routine, you can download the Trader's Good Habit Tracker. Go to goodhabittracker.com. It's a free tool that already thousands of traders are using, and I highly recommend it. Once you get it, it's a Google document. You can make your own copy and start tracking your personal habits, and it will also show you how this relates to your daily P&L. So you can identify what habit for you is the most effective and what really impacts your performance. Don't use it just for 1 week, because probably it won't give you the best stats. As everything, it's about consistency. Use it for some time. Give it at least a month, please, and then start looking at the numbers.
Agreed. Find a tool that helps with you. Find a tool.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we have given a lot of different ideas, and hopefully that you guys, see the value of talking about it. Because yes, we can talk about how fantastic trader's life is and how relaxed you will be. And in fact, if you look at that picture of the guy in a hangmat with a cocktail, there might be a little bit of a truth in there, because you do need to let go of trading. You do need to let go and be able to lay down on the beach and not think about trading. I can tell you that if you are with your mind constantly obsessed with, I have to make it, that part will be very difficult to do. So use some of the tips we gave you today and start working on disconnecting, on creating your boundaries, creating healthy routine, so that you can actually enjoy your vacation, not take your laptop and try to trade just before breakfast or going to the beach, just because you cannot control the impulse.
Agreed. Well said, my friend. Very well said.
Greg, thank you so much for this conversation. And I'm sure we will have another one good conversation next time. So thank you for always being game and participation. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you 1,000,000%. And hopefully we've been able to add another week and another episode of some helpful tips and tricks to make people more successful at trading and hopefully find a little bit of peace, calm, and clarity in their regular everyday life.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening, and talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we'll make a bigger impact. So thank you so much. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to also check some of the previous shows. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.